Hey everyone, we're going to dive into Bitcoin today as we have some really key volatility events coming up this week on Wednesday with the FOMC. It's very likely going to give us that next directional impulse and that catalyst for the next move, so I want you to be aware of these levels. Let me know where you think Bitcoin is headed this year. Do you think this week is going to be a volatile week to the downside, to the upside? Would love to know what your thoughts are, especially if you've been holding through the entire year during this 42% pump. If that sounds good, like, subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's get cracking. Now, Bitcoin is in a really interesting position at the minute because it's in a complete no trade zone, in my opinion. We had the divergences on the RSI, which we spoke about. So we had these lower highs clearly on the 4 hour, all of these peaks, and you can see that as price was getting higher, the move was actually getting weaker. So being in the middle of this range makes it a no trade zone. However, with the events coming up on Wednesday, I think that there's some key levels that I want you to look for to the upside, and I want to show you the highest levels where I think Bitcoin can get to. Now, my recommendation is to wait and see what the volatility of FOMC is going to do, because you don't want to get caught out, because volatility can move in both directions and snipe you either way. If volatility moves to the upside, moving into the meeting on Wednesday or at the meeting, after the meeting, we have an order block over here which we can easily tag. We're only about 2-3% away from there, so we can definitely come up to here and potentially make one big wick or candle here and then move back down. And you can see that in the past we have made wicks into this area and not actually pushed into new highs before. So this whole area is going to be an area of resistance. So you can see that horizontal level of resistance into this order block, which is the level that we broke down from on Monday after trying to hold that high break on Sunday at about $24.9 thousand. Now, I don't think that this is likely, but if we do move above here and we move impulsively, okay, there are some really key levels above which I want you to watch out for to not get caught out, because we've got this obvious level of horizontal resistance and this double peak, which we could potentially tag at about $25,000, okay? But if Bitcoin somehow magically breaks out of this and makes another continuation pattern to the upside, okay, I do want you to be really careful, because what is coming up at this peak and about the $26,000 level, okay, is the moving average weekly 50 and the 200 week moving average, and both of these are actually converging to meet at exactly the same price, and that could signal a massive area of resistance for Bitcoin, this is why I would not expect Bitcoin to get any higher than this. I think that there might be a chance that we can tag this in the next week or two, okay, into this $25,000 area. But you can see that in the past, if we just take a look at what happened the last couple of times that we got to that 50-week MA, that you can see that we at least stalled and tried to use it as some sort of resistance. So like I said, don't expect prices to just puncture through if we break that 25k level. You want to make sure that you never buy any of these breakouts. In my opinion, you want to make sure that your buys are not the liquidity exit for some of the bigger players, because these people who have been down here buying at about $16,500, 92% of that supply has actually been in profit in this entire move. So these people are probably waiting for one final push and using that potential exit liquidity to dump on you. So make sure that if you see a move up here, do not initially buy it. I would be waiting for that move back to correct to the downside before making any Bitcoin purchases. You can see that not only are both of these moving averages really important, but that whenever we have tested them previously in this bear market, we have used them as resistance, and these are large time frame moving averages which are important to consider. And even the 200, you can see that the last time we got there, we tried to actually back test this as support, or to try to break this as resistance, and then we confirmed it as resistance, okay. We didn't manage to hold that, move back down, and again, this is the most likely scenario that even if we break up to hit $26,000 that we see a correction. If not, we might not even reach there. I think there is a decent chance that we're probably going to still just correct from this approximate level and actually still continue to dump down to these lower levels. If you see any final pushes or any large wicks to the upside, or maybe like a higher time frame like a daily or something like that, and they tag some of those key areas, it's probably a sign that we're going to be going lower. And trust me, I have seen some crazy moves in the markets in my time, and it's definitely possible that, you know, we get some kind of massive wick up here, people buy, and then everyone, all the big players end up dumping on you, and you come back down, and then you close back within this range, and then you've basically been sucked out. That said, there are levels down below us that can provide a nice level of support, and if we do get a clean break at the next time of asking of this $22,300 level, okay, we do have this area of support here coming in at about 25.7, 21.6, sorry. Which is this horizontal level of support. Okay, so there's definitely a chance, I think, that, if we break this, I think we come straight down to this level at the very least, but more likely I think that we're actually going to probably tag this level, I would imagine, at $21,100, because that's the area that we broke out from and haven't yet retested. And oftentimes, like I said, these levels will get retested at some point, and you see reactions at these order blocks. You don't necessarily have to come down here, touch the high, and then move straight back to the upside. Oftentimes it's a bit of a process, and we go like this, and then we kind of move up a little bit, come down, take out a few stop losses and grind down and do something like this, and then move higher. So I think this is a likely scenario as well if we get that volatility to the downside from FOMC. I'd also be open for this area to be a massive area of support, okay, if Bitcoin can hold this level, because if we come down here, we know that we have a CME's gap at about $20,000 to $19,700, so it's easily a possibility that we come down here, hold this as support. We don't necessarily have to hold here straight away. Maybe we basically come down here and into this liquidity, suck the liquidity to the downside, and then make some kind of move back into this range. So if you see some of these moves occur, like I said, quick filling of gaps, quick dumps, and then we start to close back into these ranges, into these key levels of support that we broke down from really quickly. Okay, so like I said, if we don't see support here initially, we can do something like this, come back down here, and if we see these kind of things, okay, and we see this basically peak down here into that $20,000, definitely a sign that the bulls are looking to try to still keep this market afloat and move higher. So I do think that soon we will see that correction, whether we move up and then we move back down, or whether we break down just from this level and test some of these lower levels. This is for sure the most likely scenario in my opinion, and it's really about seeing what Bitcoin can do here. Can it retest this level at $20,000 when we reach there, and actually ending up holding it as support? This is going to be the key area to see if the bulls can actually hold this area, okay, and form some kind of support to give us that next level higher. And we know that markets like to move in waves of 3s and 5s, so definitely something that we might see, moving into spring might be something like a 1, 2, 3. Maybe the 3 is potentially here, and the 4 I'm still expecting to come down to, this level at about, $20,000, somewhere around here, and maybe we get one big, echo bubble rally into this resistance area over here. So like I said, these are the scenarios that I'm looking for as the most likely. Another reason that I want you to be cautious about these levels that we've marked out down below us as key levels of support is because there's really only 3 scenarios that are likely going to come out of this FOMC meeting, 2 of which are not very favorable for Bitcoin. Worst case scenario is that the Fed will increase their rate hikes by 50 basis points, which is the least likely scenario. If that was to happen, all hell would break loose. We'd see a massive crash in the markets. I think that is also pretty unlikely, and the general consensus for the markets is that there is a 98 to 99% chance of a 25 basis point rate hike. So that would be unlikely, but even if they come out with a 25 basis rate point interest rate hike, right, it's clearly already been priced into the market, and not only the Bitcoin, but also traditional markets. So we know that their market is already pricing that in. So best case scenario is that this move has already priced that in, and if they come out and they're going to continue with the same tone that they've had before, which is going to be somewhere along the lines of an expected rate hike, and then they come out with a more hawkish tone. If they come out with a hawkish tone, they're going to still likely drag the market down to test some lower levels. The most optimistic scenario that I could see, which is still not a likely scenario, is that they increase by 25 basis points and they come out with a very dovish tone. But we've seen time after time, meeting after meeting, and they're coming out and they're being very cautious and very open and eager to tackle the inflation. So if you've got 3 scenarios, two of which are going to leave Bitcoin down to lower levels, I would go with those probabilities. And one more thing about the DXY is I want you to be aware of this level that I've been speaking about for a long time, is this test of the order block, okay? And you can see that, like I said, we've been grinding down, and we're now forming a descending channel on the DXY, okay? And quite a corrective one at that. And you can see that the selling is just starting to round here, okay, as the selling is subsiding, moving into FOMC. So if we basically see support of this area and the DXY to move up and retest some of these levels at 104, 105, this is going to put pressure on Bitcoin. So if you see a massive rally from the DXY, which has, you know, I'm not saying that the DXY has to go to new all-time highs, but it has seen a pretty hefty pullback of about 10% with absolutely no respite really since November. So watch out for a move higher on the DXY. The worst case scenario that I can still see for the DXY is, again, some sort of loss of this level, okay? If we move down below 101 and we take out these lows, definitely, you know, Bitcoin is going to likely see some strength. But again, if we move down below this low and then we come back and we close back into the range and we move back into this level of support, okay, then take that as an indicator that probably Bitcoin is going to correct a little bit more to the downside. And if we see these kind of swing failure patterns, like I said, especially with FOMC, there's a lot of volatility, a lot of fake out. So you just want you to be aware of these levels, because when something's been dropping like this, like a stone, especially in traditional markets, it's a sign that, you know, there's probably going to be some kind of reversion to the mean. And like I said, it doesn't have to go to new all-time highs, but even a move in the DXY of about 4 to 5%, 3-4-5% is enough to send Bitcoin correcting probably somewhere about 15 to 20%. So I hope you got some value from that video. Let me know down below with where you think Bitcoin is headed this week. And until the next video, I'll catch you guys later.